Hello, everybody, and welcome to the August 28th regular Town Council meeting of the Town of Vegreville. I will call this meeting to order with a motion for adoption of the agenda. Councillor Bullock makes the motion. Any additions or deletions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Next is the adoption of the minutes from our last meeting. Take a motion for that. Councillor Lemko makes the motion. Any additions, deletions, amendments? No? All good? All those in favor? Carried. So first up today we have a delegation. Carol Richaud, you're up.
Just had my name. So my name is Carol Richaud. I moved here in Vegreville in 2017, and I work as a registered nurse in the community here with addiction and mental health. So about 3 years ago, I decided that I want to make Vegreville my home. And I looked at some properties in town, and I thought, okay, I had a few choices. And I chose the property which I live at, which is the 5706 53rd Street. And I've been living there for the past 2 years. So when I bought the property, it was definitely an eyesore for everybody that lived in the area, which I was aware about. And then just having inherited it, the previous owner had never mentioned about being given any remedies to rectify anything. So I still had plans to make it my home, because if it's going to be my home, I would like for my home to look nice. So in saying that, I did move in 2021. And once I came in, if you can Google the address, you can see how the property looked the first time that I moved in. So I thought, I don't want people to come visit me and think that, I'm ignoring my house. So the first thing that I did was prepare at least the outside, so that it looks like it's being lived by somebody who cares about the home. The next thing I did was in maybe February, sometime back. Sorry if I'm nervous. I got a letter from the town asking me to remedy and to excavate the building that has been in Vegreville for the last 100 years. The house was built in 1902, and you asked me to take it down in 2022. So it was neglected. There was cats living there. There's cats being fed by someone in the community that was caring for them, looking after them. But it wasn't my priority. My home was my first priority, where I'm actually living. I complied to that order that you gave me, and obviously I had no prior notification in terms of, we are giving you a warning or a notice. I came home one day and I found a letter stuck by my door asking me, this is what I need to do. As an immigrant, as someone who has zero support in this community except me, I turned to even my neighbor and inquired, what can I do? Because I didn't even know what the procedure was. And that's why Carl is here as my support. I came into town, and I think I met with you, Tim, I'm not sure.
I'm deputy mayor right now.
Oh, you're the deputy mayor?
I'm
okay.
Councillor Curtis.
So I met with the mayor, who was in town, because it was my first time here, and I did discuss with them that the time period I was given was unreasonable, given the fact that the quotations that I was getting was in the thousands of dollars. I had just bought a new home. I was excited to be in my home. Next thing, I'm being asked by the town to take this. I did what I could with the little money that I had, or not even had to borrow. I had that excavated and taken care of. The land was properly grading? It was graded, and it looked well to me. So I was like, okay, that's a good step. It's fine. It's done. And I left about that, and I'm like, I still have my plan of making my area look nice. So then the next thing is August 1st, I get another notification. Not only do I get it, it wasn't sent in the mail, it was actually pasted on the property garage. The garage was built, I believe, in 1986 or something like that, saying that it's detrimental to the surrounding area and it's an unsightful condition, which I did write a letter saying I disagree with that, because as a homeowner, I have pictures and proof that of the changes of the area. And even people who are around me can tell you how the area has changed. I think it looks good. I maintain it to the best of my ability. It's not like I neglect the area, or if you walked there, you would say that nobody cares about this property. I live next door. I see the garage every day. I'm walking in the backyard. The door is locked. Now animals are going in. Nobody goes in. As far as I know, it's never been trespassed since I've been living there. So I got the letter and I did write back and I said it's unreasonable for the town to expect me to take down now the second building or have it repaired out of my own expenses. I haven't even fully recovered from what I did in 2022. So that's why I wanted to come for the council meeting today and express my I don't want to use a bad word, but I really feel pressured and I feel discriminated against. I don't know who's complaining about this because I have only lived there for 2 years and I have proof with my pictures of how the place looked like and how it looks like today. Anybody can Google the address that I have on my home, the address for my home, and you can look at it and you can let me know, and I will show you proof of the pictures of how it looks like today. So I guess that's mostly what I wanted to communicate today. And if there's anything I forgot, I'll let you know. But that's where I wanted to start.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any questions?
I do. Hi, Carol. Thanks for coming. And thank you for presenting that to us. It's always good to hear a voice instead of just see a letter.
Exactly.
So that's great. Thank you for bringing that forward. So when you purchased the property, did anyone indicate anything about that before to you, about the buildings being in disrepair, that they would?
The only thing that I did was I did see the building was in disrepair. Yes, that I did know. But given the history of the property when I got it, I was like, if the town can allow it to sit there for 100 years, I have a vision of how I want to transform the place, then I can have ample time to also do what I need to do. So I did know that that's how it was because when I purchased it, I did see it. I was there I actually was on site.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Another thing is in your letter, it says that you plan to use the garage?
I don't plan to use the garage right now. I'm a single lady who lives in that home, and it's safer for me. I feel, given the job that I also do in town, I feel it's safer for me to walk from my driveway into my house for now until I have been able to fence up the area. Then I can know that, once I leave the garage, I'm walking straight into my home and there's nobody around or anything like that, right? So that's why it's not been a priority for me to use it because I don't need it at the moment.
Okay. I just, in the one letter, sorry. I just understand from the letter, you plan to use it going forward?
I can not moving forward. Like I said again, my safety is my priority, and I find that it's safer for me to go from my driveway into my home because I have cameras there, so I know if anything happens to me, then at least somebody will be aware of what happened. I can use the garage now because that means I would have to walk through the back of my house, and right now my fence is not. My house, the two lots are not fenced, so it's still, I don't feel like it's a safe thing for me to do. So that's why I'm not using the garage, and that's why it wasn't a priority right now.
Okay, so, but going forward, you wanted to repair it, or?
Eventually, yes. Like I said again, the property, like I have double lots, so I do know that eventually I have to make my area, like I said again, the two properties my home, so I have goals to achieve that. But it's just that I feel pressured by the town again, like to get these things done one by one. It's not even my budget, and I can't afford it. So I'm turning out to be house poor rather than enjoying my home, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for those answers.
Yeah.
Councilor Rudick?
Thank you very much for your presentation. I wonder if it's worth, maybe not so much for your education, because you've experienced what the process has been, but maybe it's worth having a little explanation of the series of steps that have brought us to this point. I'm not sure if that's something that CAO Ling or Manager Newton would like to just explain, just because this isn't common for most of us on council. I've been on council for some time, but it's not frequent that we've made it to this step in our enforcement series. So maybe it's worth explaining the series of steps that have brought us here. And unfortunately, it sounds like it's a recent occurrence that you purchased the property. And unfortunately, that, like you said, that property has been one that's been identifiable for some time. Sorry, I'm asking you, and there's not enough microphones.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Through your worship, the order was issued under the Municipal Government Act. So under the Municipal Government Act, the only way to remedy an order or change an order is through council after a review of 14 days. This is where the review process was started at the last legislative meeting, and then we invited Carol there to speak on behalf of the property as well. Part of the MGA Act, Municipal Government Act, excuse me.
And sorry, there were a few steps before that.
That's
before
correct, yes. So we were requested by administration to identify properties in Vegreville for derelict or detrimental to the surrounding area. We identified that property as well. In our enforcement, more letters did go out to other community members. The first process is to do the order of remedy with the date of September 30th of this year. And that order was placed on the property as well as sent out by registered mail.
And at this point, Ms. Richaud has a couple of options she's able to present to us. And we've got a couple of choices that we can make as council. Is that correct?
I'm not sure what her options are, but we have our recommendations, yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And so as a follow-up question, Deputy Worship, to you, Ms. Richaud. Sorry, I know that you've expressed both in your letter and here tonight that you feel pressured by the September 30th date. Is there a date that you would feel would be more appropriate with your timeline?
I think I don't know if I mentioned it in the letter, but I was looking at a 2-year, because I have a 5-year plan. So it's among my plan, but it's not until 2025. That's what's reasonable financially for me. As a one-person income, and I can't afford the thousands that I'm being quoted for by the contractors.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Barry?
Thank you. Thanks for the information. What I need to know is, just to backtrack so I understand clearly, you bought 2 properties.
I bought one property, but in order for the person the Chudik, I think, family, or the family that was selling it to me would not sell it to me unless I got the second property.
Yeah. So you
So it was
currently live on the
conditioned
one
on.
property,
I only live on one, yes.
and it was the adjacent property
Yes.
that the notice came on.
Yep.
And there was a house and a garage on that property?
There's a garage only now because the house was
No,
taken down in 2020.
there was a house and garage on the property,
Yeah.
and you have removed the house,
Yeah.
and it's only the garage that remains. So you have gone through the expense of removing the house.
Yes. And that was in 2022, April.
Thank you.
Councillor Lemko?
Yes, Carol, thank you for presenting to us today. It's important that we get to hear from you because we don't know your situation or what your plans are with your lot. So I appreciate your comments, and your explanation helps me to formulate a decision moving forward. So thank you for that.
And again, yeah, thank you very much for coming and presenting to us today. And we will deliberate on this, I think, a little bit later on, so
Okay.
thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. And if you want the pictures, like I said, I have them. So
Sure. We can take a look if you want.
the first one that I would suggest is to Google my address. I don't know if you guys have Google on your internet, and I can show you how the home looks like now. Does she want that on live stream? It's 570655.
Oh, sorry.
5706 5706. That's the property that the things garage.
53rd Street. It's on this one here. 5702 53rd Street. I have to use my phone probably. Street side. No, that's not doing it. Thank you. Okay, next order of business I have is a supplemental from Interim Corporate Services Director Bryce Johnston for some transfers from reserves.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is a request for council decision with the topic being to transfer reserve funds for capital purchase. The proposal is to transfer $20,000 from reserves to purchase capital infrastructure. The background is in 2022, a pump was ordered, but it could not be delivered. The capital funds were then designated to the Pump 105 replacement project and were transferred to a reserve. The pump is now ready for delivery and will need to be paid for. Administration is requesting permission to transfer the $20,000 from reserves to operating to fund the purchase. The pump replacement was part of the 2022 capital plan. The financial implication is the transfer will reduce reserves by $20,000, but will offset the 2023 expenditure, resulting in a net effect of $0 on the 2023 budget. The recommendation is that council approve the transfer of reserve funds to fund the Pump 105 replacement.
Thank you. I will take a motion for the recommendation. Councillor Barry, your hand was up so fast. Any discussion? Pretty straightforward. Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Okay. Up next, we have some actually, I forgot. We have two young gentlemen in the back here, all the way from Ukraine, Ola and Yura Koval. And we just wanted to say thank you guys for stopping by and seeing what it's like to be in the municipal hot seat. And welcome to Vegreville. That was perfect.
It happens up here too.
It's usually the mayor. Yeah. Okay, up next we have some correspondence. CO Ling, are you reading the correspondence? Okay. It's from Elaine Kuchar from the Vegreville Transportation Services Society.
Okay. Dear Mayor McPhee and Town Council, on behalf of the Vegreville Transportation Services Society, VTSS, I would like to thank you for your decision, once again, to providing funding for our organization. The generous grant in the amount of $22,000 is greatly appreciated. This funding will help solidify the fiscal footing of VTSS as we navigate into 2024 and support consistent service levels in the future. There is no way this letter can adequately convey how much VTSS appreciates your generosity. Our clients are greatly enriched by this service. With thanks, Elaine Kuchar, Program Coordinator.
Thank you. Take a motion to receive and file. Councillor Bullock. Any discussion? Councillor Barry, I'm looking the wrong way. Councillor Barry.
Thank you. I was just going to recommend that this be brought forward to us at budget time, as that is probably the more appropriate time to look at it and discuss it as part of budget.
Yes, it's already on the community services.
I expected it was.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You good? We good? Okay. Do we have to vote on that? I can't remember. Yeah? All those in favor of receiving and file? Gary, this is why I'm the deputy and I'm not the mayor. Up next, we have correspondence. Mike Fluker, appeal of late tax payment penalty.
Okay. It's to the town of Vegreville, reappeal of late tax penalty, tax roll 222600, 5208 Maple Street. My name is Mike Fluker. I live in Calgary, Alberta. I am the owner of the 4.3 acre parcel of land consisting of 2 lots located at 5208 Maple Street. I received a tax notice for the 2023 tax year totaling $6,254.48, due no later than Friday, June 30th, 2023. On June 30th, I made 2 attempts to pay this amount online through the Town of Vegreville's website. The website indicated payments are made through the software provider Option Pay Incorporated. Both attempts to pay on June 30th failed. On Saturday, July 1st, I tried again to pay the outstanding tax. This time the payment went through. On August 2nd, 2023, I received through the mail a notice from the Town of Vegreville requesting a late penalty of $596.42. I contact your accounts receivable clerk, Kara McDonald, to explain my circumstances. She advised she did not have the authority to reverse the charge. I then contacted the mayor's office and spoke with Mayor McPhee. I explained the situation and he advised that unless I could prove the payments attempts were in fact made and the website had a problem, it was unlikely the penalty would be reversed. On August 2nd, after my conversation with Mayor McPhee, I contacted Option Pay by email explaining what had happened and asked for assistance to prove that my payment attempts were made on June 30th. As of the writing of this appeal, I have not had a response from Option Pay or even an acknowledgement of the receipt of my email. In 2001, the Alberta government enacted the Electronic Transaction Act. Among other things, the act requires a public entity, the Town of Vegreville, to retain in electronic form an accessible copy of all transactions. This would also include information regarding any problems with the website. If I am unable to prove that my attempt to pay did occur on June 30th and was unsuccessful, then I have to have the cooperation of your website payment company, Option Pay. As they have ignored my communication, I cannot do that through no fault of my own. I have sought legal advice on this matter through a law firm that specializes in electronic communication and transactions law. I believe they believe I have a strong case to have the penalty overturned and to recover my costs to date, including legal expenses, hotel and personal time, and travel to Vegreville for the last week's council meeting, which was only cancelled the morning of the 21st. Under this circumstance, I am respectfully requesting that the late tax penalty be waived and we can conclude this matter. Regards, Mike Fluker.
Thank you. Take a motion to receive and file. Councillor Rudick. Discussion. Counselor Bullock.
So on that date, we've looked at transactions that have actually gone through that date with no problem, correct?
Yes, that's correct. On June 30th, we've had 5 transactions go through on option pay throughout the day.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Barry.
Thank you. As always on these matters, I ask one simple question. Is there any demonstrated administrative error?
No, there is not. As for option pay, if they have any issues with their system or their system goes down, they also send all their customers, which we are one of, notification that their system is down and for how long they think it's going to be down for. And then we'll also get an email notification when it's back up. And we have received none of those for that day.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No? So receive and file. All those in favor? Carried and stands.
We will notify Mr. Fluker.
Thank you very much. Next up, the exciting part, the monthly cash statement. It doesn't have a name beside it, but I can guess who's gonna present it. Director Johnston.
Thank you, Your Worship. So 2 months in a row where we've increased our cash, which is always a good thing. We started the beginning of the month of July with 13.36 million in the bank, which increased by month's end to 14 million. The increase is approximately $670,376, largely attributed to major sources of incoming cash were property tax collection. We received about $1 million from the government of Alberta, which is a few months sooner than what it has been in previous years for taxes. We also received $200,000 of the AMWP grant and $103,000 for the MSI grant. And then aside from that, it was just monthly property tax, TIP plan payments and utilities. Major uses of cash were the check that goes out to the MD of Minburn Foundation, the Rotary Club Skate Park, and 2 payroll runs, including, and then the other one was the capital payment for road work to MPE for $65,000. So more cash in than cash out, which is always a good thing, and we'll see a few more capital payments start coming out for all of IP&D's work over the summer and the coming weeks here.
Excellent. Take a motion for the monthly cash statement. Councillor Lemko. All good? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, business, we have Projected Services Manager Mitch Newton with MGA Order Review 1.
Thank you, Your Worship. The order is part of the delegation that we just received. The order was requested to bring back to council. The recommendations are to, number 1, repair the roof and add paint to the outer building, or number 2, demolish that building and have the lot made safe by the date of September 30th at the end of the reorder.
Okay. Is there any discussion on this matter after what we've heard previously? Councillor Bullock.
Okay, after the presentation today by Carol today, I know the property. I've been by the property a number of times, and I've seen the action she has taken after it was given to her, and she's actually remedied the house. Carol has said something that really stuck to me really well in here, is that she has a 5-year plan. And if anything, we all know we have plans for affording things going down, even as a municipality. So I understand, being a single income, a 5-year plan, she's taken remedy to the situation and got rid of the derelict house. Anyone would, in my mind, need some time to recover from that, just after buying a house and moving to the community. So me, myself, I would probably honor the extension right now.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Councillor Lemko?
Yes, Your Worship. So we're talking an extension, or are we talking one of these two, repair the roof and paint the outside of the building, or demolish the building as per the MGA that's presented to us today? No, I'm one of the councillors that is adamant that we clean up derelict properties in the community. There are a number of those, and our administration have gone around and identified those properties. This property was identified earlier regarding the house, which was demolished, and thanks Ms. Richoux for getting that done. After your presentation today, I'm of the mindset that you have a plan to remedy that property eventually, and I'm more than pleased with that. And so there is a plan in your mind, and so I would side with Mr. Bullock, Councillor Bullock, to give you the extension of time that's required to get that done. And that's on the count of your presentation tonight.
Thank you. Councillor Barrett?
Yes, thank you. I'm going to echo what my fellow councillors have just said. I appreciate the fact that you've clearly removed the house. And I think that that is a very good move forward, so long as you do have a plan where it won't be a long length of time before the garage is removed and or improved. So I could see a short period of time we could discuss and come up with an agreement as a short period of time that would allow you to recover a bit from the cost of removing the house and promise to move forward on repairing the garage. I'm of the belief that you're more interested in repairing it than demolishing it. Okay. So could we discuss an appropriate time period? Maybe she might be able to. I was kind of thinking 1 year myself.
Sure. Councillor Rudick?
So I think, I haven't heard from Deputy Worship, but for those of council that are assembled today, I think it's clear that compassion is what I'm hearing. So I'm curious, our two options that were presented to us by administration were to repair or demolish by September 30th. So I'm wondering if there's any leniency that council can amend the timeline and or the actions. I don't know who I direct that through. Yeah.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, through to Councillor Rudick. So council does have the option of confirming the order, varying the order, substitute, or cancel the order. So this will be a substitution of that order.
Okay. Okay, and thank you for clarifying that. I think probably if we were able to come to some kind of negotiation in terms of the date, I would be comfortable with that. I think what you've described to us is something that's important to this council. And as Councillor Lemko has alluded to, we have a number of derelict properties that have been outstanding for a number of years. And unfortunately, you moved to the community right when we were in the midst of enforcing something that's been longstanding. And for those of us that have been on council for a long time, there are some properties that, as you say, are full of, I mean, I know of somebody that purchased a property and they had in excess of 30, 40 feral cats, which was not what she intended on purchasing. She wasn't buying a property with an additional 40 residents that she had to take care of in a variety of ways, working with our local animal shelter. So all that to say, I would say that I would be comfortable with working maybe with a shorter timeline. I think probably 2025 is maybe a little bit longer for this council's comfort, but perhaps we could work towards a tighter timeline that would be appropriate for both council and administration goals and also being compassionate to your needs.
Councillor Barry?
I just wanted to add one thing. In our previous discussions, we were kind of leaning a different direction, which is why administration has brought forward the two recommendations. with your presentation tonight and reviewing it, I think that's where council is looking at, is there a third option?
Okay, so we're gonna go with a substitution, is that what we called it, on this order? And we want to direct administration to have some conversation with Carol and see if we can come to an understanding that's beneficial for both sides. I think that's what we want to do. Okay. Go ahead.
Is that correct? Substitution or cancel this order?
Yeah, substitution, but it would be better if you were to set the date now. That way, we don't have to come back to the process again to continue the same process and changing the order.
Yeah, is that easiest, as Councillor Berry just suggested, is it easy just to change the date? September 30th, 2024 is what you're thinking? Does that sound more appealing? Yeah, because I guess the challenging part here, and I guess we wouldn't usually have this kind of conversation back and forth, and to be very frank, as council, it is our goal. I mean, there's a few things that were mandated by the Municipal Government Act, is to provide a safe and vibrant community, and to have community engagement like that is important for us on council. This is why we all got involved, and this is why we want to be a part of municipal government, is we want to make our community better. And part of that is getting feedback from our neighbors and our friends and our family that live around the community and say, we don't want to live beside a house that has 40 feral cats wreaking havoc on the quality of life. And it's obvious that you've been attentive to that since you've purchased that property. All that to say, we don't want to create extra work for our administration. And it is a difficult process to get through the Municipal Government Act to get to this point where we have enforcement. So I thank Manager Newton for taking what we've directed administration to do to bring it to this point. So in asking, I guess, or suggesting September 30th, 2024, we don't want to create extra work for our administration and make it difficult for you, but I think that's probably a safe or a fair option between what we've mandated our administration and also being compassionate to your needs. So.
Councillor Runco.
Yes, Your Worship. So we're talking September 30th, 2024. Now, are we talking demolition or are we talking paint and repair the roof by that date? There's two options in front of us here.
I think pursuant to the conversation and the presentation that we received today, that I would be comfortable making a recommendation that would be option 1 with the amendment to September 30th, 2023. And option 1 says repair roof, add paint to the outside of the building. And I guess part of that conversation or that amendment to that recommendation would be working with our Manager of Protective Services to ensure that these guidelines are followed up by a certain set of dates that need to be met.
Okay, so for the amended motion, or sorry, the amended recommendation, we'll go, all those in favor of repair roof, add paint to the outside of the building by September 30th, 2024. All those in favor? Did I do that? Am I doing that wrong? You gotta yell at me. I'm new at this.
Actually, we just need a motion. There hasn't been a motion made yet, so you can just set the motion,
Oh, perfect.
but we need somebody to make the motion.
I so move.
Councillor Rudick makes the motion. All those in favor of the motion? Carried. Up next, we have. Oh. What happens next? For sure. That makes sense, yeah. So administration will follow up with you and get in contact with you for the steps moving forward. Up next is Protective Service Manager Newton with Fire Services Deployment Revenue.
Thank you, Your Worship. As it was discussed at the last Legislative Services meeting, we had 3 deployments during the wildfire season of May and June of this year. First call to the province came with Minburn County. We supplied 1 member to Minburn County to provide aid in Parkland County. The second call came from the province, and we supplied a vehicle and 2 of our own members to the county of Yellowhead, and that was also the second deployment 5 days later as well, with 3 members, 1 being from the county in Minburn.
Thank you. No, thank you very much. Sorry, Manager Newton.
No problem, Your Worship. As discussed, with the cost to the wages, fuel, repairs to our vehicles, and the 50% joint submission with the County of Minburn, we were able to receive a revenue of $51,070.63. The club was here requesting that fund be taken out of revenue and given to the Vegreville Fire Services Club, so they can purchase their training center at a total quoted at of $189,980.22. With their contributions that they received through various resources, they were able to secure $139,125, and this will put them be able to continue on and start the process of purchasing that training center and getting it built.
Thank you very much. Now I'm all over the place. Okay, that's what I'll do. Need a motion to approve this recommendation? Councillor Lam?
Yes, Your Worship. I make the motion that we provide the $51,078.63 to the Vegreville Fire Services Club so they can proceed with their training center. And I understand they received their new SCBA packs, which will be needing a training center to utilize the packs and the new people that we have on the department. So I make the motion to proceed with the financial monies that was presented here.
Okay. Councillor Barry?
I could certainly echo that, Councillor Lemko. I believe that the monies came through some very hard labor of firefighters that went to fight fires that were causing havoc to other communities. So I think they need to be commended for that. And the only thing I can see appropriate here is to support getting the training center up and running. So I'm certainly behind this.
It's all for discussion. Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's a good idea. I know we've missed out on a few casinos as of the last few years, so a lot of the funding is not where it has been in the past. So I think it's great. So all those in favor of the recommendation? Carried. Up next, we have Protective Services Manager Newton again with the Fire Services Capital Plan with the County of Minburn Joint Capital Plan.
I'm starting to feel like Director Lefebvre.
He's getting off easy today.
Yes, Your Worship, thank you. County of Minburn and the town of Vegreville entered into an agreement for firefighting services back at the beginning of 2022. With that agreement, in the schedule, it also stated that we had to have a joint capital plan with various people leaving positions and changeover in the municipality. We're just coming to an agreement now to ensure that we cover that agreement for ratification. The plan was presented to you as a joint plan, purchasing 6 apparatuses, a joint fund, and we're just want ratification of that plan.
Okay, I'll go for a motion for the RCD. Councillor Rudick. Discussion? Councillor Rudick.
Thank you for bringing this forward. I just had a quick question for you. The financial implications on here as delineated are $1,632,500. dollars. Is that intended over the duration of the plan of the joint services agreement? If you could just,
Yeah, that's correct. That'd be both our portions of funding for each $1 million and $603,250 for that plan duration. Think again, though, everything is going up with everything right now, unfortunately, and it's a great number to have, but no guarantees that'll be the final number, unfortunately.
All good? Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Interim Corporate Services Director Johnston, Somerville property tax letter.
Thank you, Your Worship. The topic of this request for council decision is to discuss the property tax penalty applied to the Somerville residents. The proposal is to review and respond to the Somerville property tax letter. The family wishes to have the penalty waived and enroll in the TIP tax program. The background: the Somerville family paid a portion of their property taxes on July 28, 2023. The payment was for $1,514. The admin team and myself then had a conversation with the Somervilles in the town office to explain why the penalty was applied to their account. Subsequent conversations between myself and town staff have confirmed that in April, we relayed the information to them regarding how to enroll in the TIP program and the dollar amount they would have to pay to be considered current. It equated to 4/12 of the property tax levy. As of June 30th, 2023, there were no payments on their account and they were not enrolled in the TIP program. Due to no payments being made by the June 30th deadline, the 15% penalty was levied against their account. The penalty equates to $348. The recommendation is that Town Council impose the property tax penalty of 15% as written in bylaw number 09-2022. Once the account is current, meaning arrears of $348 are paid, they will be able to enroll in the TIP plan.
Okay, thank you. I'll take a motion for the RCD. Councillor Bullock makes the motion. Any discussions, questions? Councillor Berry?
Thank you. So my simple question again, was there any administrative error? It's fairly straightforward. They just missed the deadline.
That's right. From our perspective, there is no administrative error.
All right. All those in favor? Carried. Interim Corporate Services Director Johnston again, Vista Motel property tax.
Thank you, Your Worship. So as mentioned, this is to discuss the property tax increase for the Vista Motel. The proposal is to review and respond to the Gino Shin property tax letter. The business owners hope to postpone the tax increase levied to the property. The Vista Motel owners are enrolled in the TIP plan and have an increase in their monthly payment from $394 to $456. The increase in property taxes are consistent with property assessed values and mill rates as outlined in bylaw number 09-2022. Our records indicate that they have not applied for the C1 incentive or the small business tax incentive. The financial implications are a difference in monthly payment that equates to $61.48 per month or $737 annually. The recommendation is for council to impose the property tax increase as noted on the 2023 property tax assessment, equating to the total monthly cost of $456.13.
Thank you very much. I'll take a motion for the request. Councillor Lemko. Discussion? Questions? Councillor Bullock?
Okay, so they've been made aware of the C1 incentive now? Have they?
I can't speak to that because I was not involved in those conversations if they did take place, but I can look into that for you.
Okay, all right, well, I meant from the last time we read the the letter anyways, from the ledge meeting.
So I guess I looked into that, and they have not applied for, but I don't know if we corresponded with them.
So I don't think we notify any small business owners about the C1 incentive anymore. Is that correct? Or does it go out with the tax notice?
Thank you very much, Councillor Bullock. I can speak to the fact that my office is not directly liaised with any small business in regards to the C1 incentive. We certainly promote it and advertise it, but as you can imagine, there are a lot of businesses it would take a substantial amount of time. You know, certainly this could be a potential for this business, but in terms of any promotion or you know, face-to-face conversation, that has not happened with this particular business, but I did have conversation with another business that is eligible and will be receiving those funds in a few weeks. They saw the same stream that we put out in terms of the promotion for it. So that's sort of how we operate. We promote it, but we don't go door to door to let people know about it.
Councillor Blook?
Interim CEO Ling, previously to the bylaw being made, did they used to get a notice with their were they notified in their tax notice that they could apply for this before?
The C1 incentive goes back quite a few years now. So I'm not exactly sure. I know when it was brought in, there would have been a media blitz. And I know we've occasionally done some social media and on our website information that manager, our economic development manager was talking about. But do we send out flyers in the tax notices? No, we do not. And same with the small business tax incentive. We did a media blitz when it was introduced, and it is on our website. I think it's even been on Talk of the Town when the tax notices came out to remind everybody that they need to apply by business or the end of the year to qualify for the tax incentive. It's too much work administratively for the town to take that burden on.
Councillor Berry?
Thank you. I'm going to come back to the gist of the actual letter, and that's the request to postpone the increased levy to the property, and I believe that that's not something that we do. I don't believe that we postpone taxes. It's a request of all citizens, businesses, and residents to pay their taxes, and postponement just isn't in the books.
Yes, we do not postpone.
Okay. Councillor Rudick?
So, given the discussion that we've heard today, and I appreciate that administration looked into the two questions that I asked last time, whether or not the incentive or the small business tax had been taken advantage of by this property owner. I wonder if that's something that we can bring forward in our budget discussion of what's actually included in the tax notification. Obviously, we don't want to have a million things in there, but maybe that's something that we need to look at, because if we're offering incentives and we don't have an abundant number of people applying, maybe there's another way that we can reach them. And tax notification would be potentially an option. So maybe that's a conversation that we can have moving forward. And in this instance, because we're going to be having correspondence directly with this individual, is it possible to include that in our reply that would say that, unfortunately, given the Municipal Government Act restrictions, we cannot postpone the increase, but for their 2024 incentives, that these two options exist?
Yeah, we can definitely inform them of both those options when we reply to them and include it in their mailing.
And sorry, I do have one more question. The C1 incentive, has it closed for the 2023 year?
No, it is not, Councillor. It is still available. Now, obviously, when we budget for these for the year, we cap them. And essentially, you're looking at 5 businesses eligible for the, if you spend, I believe it's 10 grand, you get up to 20% of that back. So it equates to a maximum of $2,000. But as mentioned, there are a few businesses that have recently applied and will be granted those funds. but there are those that can still apply because we still have room in the budgeted allocated funds for, it will be 3 more businesses, should they be eligible for the maximum amount.
Okay, thank you. And just as a point of clarification too, and I certainly wouldn't take that on at this point because that's not my committee, but in the past, I have gone around and directly solicited businesses that we felt were eligible, and I don't think that that necessarily is a responsibility of anybody in particular, but in this instance, we have the opportunity to be able to reach out to this property owner directly, which may or may not be eligible. So I would just suggest that maybe that's worthwhile including in the response to the property owner here.
Yep, we will include that for them.
Thank you. That is all? Okay. All those in favor? Carried. Up next, we have interim CEO Sandra Ling, appointment of Director of Emergency Management.
Okay, this is to appoint Protective Services Manager Mitch Newton as the Director of Emergency Management. The Emergency Management Act requires that each municipality appoint a Director of Emergency Management. As the new manager of Protective Services Department, Mitch Newton will take on the duties of the Director. The role of the Director consists of the following: act as Chair of the Municipal Emergency Management Agency, act as Chair of the Municipal Emergency Advisory Committee, act as Director of the Municipal Emergency Coordination Center, ensure the Deputy Directors of Emergency Management are designated in his or her absence, coordinate all emergency services and other resources used in an emergency, ensure the staff of the town and members of the Municipal Emergency Advisory Committee and Municipal Emergency Management Agency, as required, complete training to maintain effectiveness in the event of an emergency, and perform other duties as prescribed by the local authority. Written notifications will be forwarded to Alberta Emergency Management Agency and the County of Minburn number 27. A media release will be distributed to the local media and town staff. The appointment will be posted on the town's website. The recommendation is that Town Council appoint Protective Services Manager Mitch Newton as Director of Emergency Management for the town of Vegreville, effective immediately.
Thank you very much. I'll take a motion for the RCD. Councillor Lemko. Any discussion on this? This has come up before, something we need to have. So, congratulations. All those in favor? Carried. Okay. Next up, we have councillor reports. I think we'll start with Councillor Barry today.
Thank you. So, I'll just go down through here. I gotta get some other notes up here. On the July, we have to go back into July 21st, met at the Collectors Car Club Appreciation for a photo and a plaques plural presentations to them. That was part of the deal. The council workshop on the 24th of July, and Vegreville Community Health Services Awareness Meeting. This is a meeting that's held by many of those who, it's always on Zoom, but it's members of the community that are involved in health services, and they do an update as to what's taking place in the area and within the town. And for most things, everything's not too bad in town. We still need a couple of doctors. They're hiring some more nurses. We're getting, even the ambulance services have improved in most areas of the province. So it's just a good update. It's a meeting that I sit in and listen because I don't have very much to try and contribute, but it is very worthwhile. On the 27th, Innotech Field Day, and I'm certain other councillors will respond on this as well. It's always a pleasure to go out there and just see how involved Innotech is. It's a great asset to the community. They do so much work in so many different fields, and they have some very, very qualified people. So it's always a very worthwhile day out there. I'm going to have to find my notes here because it's going to be a little bit longer on this one here, folks. Just hang with me. I wasn't expecting to be first because I was first last time.
Couldn't remember who I put first.
Okay. So the next one that is up here for me is August the 8th, the Vermilion River Watershed Alliance. We had another meeting. It was held Zoom again, although we want to get back to in-person meetings. So as I've informed you before, the society portion of the alliance has now been dissolved, and we're in the final steps with the government to finish that. But it doesn't really change our alliance. What it does is it incorporates us more into the North Saskatchewan River Alliance, which is benefit to everybody. And one of those is we've got the terms of reference now. We confirmed a chair, a vice chair, and secretary. We've put together a steering committee, and we're going to be keeping an education subcommittee, and they're looking for grants right now. They're hoping to get grants to get the children's book that I was telling you that they're trying to get put together about the watershed, which I think will be very interesting when they get that done. Looking for grants in general to get incorporated and move forward. We're wanting to do some more groundwater studies. So those are some of the sort of things that we're trying to move forward to and get back into being more collaborative with the other sub-watersheds, because now we can search for grants collectively and do studies in each of the all of the watersheds simultaneously, instead of each trying to look for their own granting. So I think that's a positive move. August 9th, the parade and the fair, ledge meeting on the 15th. And then I come to the next one here, which is the North Saskatchewan Watershed Alliance Workshop. And there we met in person at Sunshine Club. I had a number of delegations, and we were working on best management practices in sense for communities and watersheds. And a lot of it has to do with recommendations towards land use bylaws. And most land use bylaws are very lacking when it comes to how to handle streams and watersheds and wetlands within their area. It's maybe a little more important to counties, but one of the things I'm glad to see Director Lefebvre has come back in, because the kudos part was out of the 24 communities, out of the 70 across the watershed, they'd done a summary of things. And one of the things is that basically very few, if any, communities have mapped the floodplains and et cetera. So I pointed out to them, quickly drew it up on the phone, that Vegreville has. And they were very impressed that our bylaws are probably ahead of most any other that's in the watershed. So they, I believe, will be giving a rewrite with kudos to Vegreville for moving forward and having had that engineering work done. And it's being incorporated right into the bylaws. So I think that's a very positive for our community compared to Hardy's any. In fact, two of the ones that were there, the ones that were giving the workshop, are currently working with another community in another watershed to try and do that same thing. So I think that was a good positive. On the 25th, I met with the Vegreville Agricultural Society. There are discussions still going on as to whether or not the corn maze could still go ahead. I can't say any more to that because I can't speak for any of the groups, but I have offered to act as an advisor. And I'm certain they'll rope me into more than just advising. I'm hoping that we can get things coordinated and go, because the corn actually this year is the best it's ever been. The trails that I have cut through it already, the corn is tall, and I think it would be a very good corn maze for the kids to go through. Today, Lakeland Respiratory 30th anniversary. I was quite surprised when we realized that 30 years have gone by with that business in town and around the area. And I'll let Councillor Bullock speak to that a little bit more. And then tonight's regular council, and I spoke more than I usually ever do on these things.
Thank you, Christian.
Thank you.
Up next, Councillor Lepko.
Thank you, Your Worship. July 21st, I also attended the collector appreciation photo at Galleria Mall, and it was nice to see a couple of the old vintage cars out as well. July 24th, council workshop. August 3rd, a council workshop. August 8th, I attended a media interview at the Homestead Lodge regarding the needs assessment that we had been working on for the last 4 or 5 months regarding the expansion or the rebuild to the Homestead Lodge, and where we sit with that and what transpired out of the needs assessment. And we're in a very, we've submitted the assessment to the government for a review to determine if we would qualify under their plan. So it's in the prelim on their part. We haven't until we get something back from them. It's just a document right now that we can bring forward should we get approval on their part. August 9th to 13th, the Vegreville Fair started out with the parade and the running behind a float, throwing candy out at children, stepping on my tongue 3 times as the float was a little faster than this old boy can run. And then shuttle service at the fair. In fact, trying to get a golf cart through all that mud was a challenge in itself at the shuttle. And it was fun, though. It was a great time to be out at the fair and see the people that came from, more people from outside of town than I've seen in a long time. The 15th, the Ledge meeting. The 28th, the photo today at Lakeland Respiratory, which is 30 years, and it's remarkable how time flies. And I remember when they started up and where they are today, and their expansion, moving to another facility in town. So good for them. Congratulations, and I wish them the best. And tonight's very informative council meeting.
Thank you very much. Up next, Councillor Bullock.
Thank you, Your Worship. So back on July 24th, council workshop on housing and wayfinding. August 3rd, we had another council workshop involving ECDEV. August 9th, volunteers as a shuttle driver for the Agricultural Society Country Fair, and good kudos to all the volunteers out there. Without all those volunteers running that event, I don't know how you'd pull that off. It was a little wet for the start and a little bit cold, but we got through that and it worked out really good. August 15th, our Ledge meeting. On August 19th, for the Vegreville District Chamber of Commerce, I pulled the egg float in the Two Hills Parade. On August 26th, I volunteered out at the Vegreville Speedway, the Vegreville Airport. A lot of participants from out of town came into town, which was really interesting to see, and they really commenting on how well everything did there. There was actually the world's only jet Ferrari was here and did exhibition passes, so if anyone had a chance to see that, that's the only place in the world you would have seen one was in Vegreville. So it went off without a hitch. Everything went well. That was great. Lots of volunteers to pull that event off as well, and bringing a lot of people into our town as well. Today, August 28th, the Lakeland Respiratory 30th year anniversary. So it was interesting to have some conversation after the presentation and see what's going on. And interesting is how many people are coming into our community because of Lakeland Respiratory. So Lakeland Respiratory has been around since '93. They started in the hospital, 2 rooms that they rented, and then they expanded over the years through town. So they have a lung lab, sleep apnea they test for, and also oxygen therapy. So they're quite specialized, and we have that in Vegreville, which we're very lucky. Lloydminster doesn't have that anymore, so those patients are splitting up and coming to Vegreville, to St. Paul, and to Bonnyville, which Lakeland Respiratory takes care of. Right, just so everyone knows, we're more of a hub than we think medically for a lot of different reasons. So this is really interesting to hear, and some of the new therapists that have actually moved to town because of Lakeland Respiratory. So we have some new residents that bought houses in town because of it. So it's good to hear, and that we have such a specialized medical facility in our town that we don't think of naturally. We just don't, right? Unless you need them, right? So, which brought something else to light in conversations, is that like on our website on under live, I was looking for like our medical facilities, like hospital, doctors, clinics, stuff like that. I don't know. I don't see anything there. I was just wondering if there's something we could do with that moving forward when somebody's clicking on our community, what we have to offer, like what kind of medical facilities that we have. I think that's just part of the community, what needs to be there, what facilities are available, doctors' offices and stuff like that. I think that would be a good idea to look into moving forward. It's something we could just put out there so people at least know that we have these facilities and all the eye clinics and stuff like that. So, and tonight's council meeting. Leave it at that.
Alrighty, thank you very much. Councilor Rudick.
Thank you, Your Demi Worship. Since we last met in July, I attended council workshops. July 27th, attended Intech Field Day, and happy to see new and familiar faces there of investors, innovators, and researchers, as well as local farmers that are interested in advancing various projects and products, and be able to see in action the largest decorticator in North America, and be able to see what is happening again in terms of bringing people to the community in terms of long-term residents. We've got some of Dr. Slasky's staff that have now purchased. They've lived here for a number of years, but they've purchased homes in the community and continue to be valuable members. So happy to see that, but also happy to see some new faces that are interested in working with the team there to expand industrial hemp as well as other research projects. So look forward to seeing what kind of conversations we'll have with them moving forward. I want to thank the volunteers who made the Vegreville Country Fair a resounding success once again. Started sunny, had a little bit of rain in the middle, and then ended sunny as well. There were a lot of people that came to town to see special events, participate in various portions of the fair, including horse shows and the livestock shows that maybe us as council we weren't a part of, or attend the Dean Brody concert. So there were a lot of people that were brought to Vegreville, and again, a lot of positive commentary and social media with good things to say about Vegreville, which is great. Shows what kind of work council and administration been doing, but more importantly, the business and the residents that live in the community. Very much enjoyed being able to drive the shuttle and talk with some local residents that would not be able to get around the grounds otherwise, so happy to do that. April 15th, we had an RCMP meeting in the absence of the mayor. I was able to join interim CAO Ling to have a conversation with some of the folks from the local area to talk about some of our questions about the reconciliation and the billing cycles that we've had. So it was great to be able to have a face-to-face conversation with some of those people in Eastern Alberta District, and very frank, open conversation. And we'll look forward to following up and seeing what kind of resolution we can have to some of the concerns that we've had. August 25th, my goodness. Northern Lights Library Systems meeting, quarterly meeting I attended virtually, and I will say that not only do they do a great job of providing information. Their online version of meetings is so incredibly accessible. I just want to make special note, obviously they know how to work all of their systems, and I don't know if it's the same one that we can use, but great to be able to access all of the things that we're working on. So I'll just bring a couple pieces of information. They've expanded the number of members that we have progressively. Always, I mean, they're always looking for new members, and that's usually municipalities, but there are also a number of Indigenous groups that have joined, and so they've been expanding and making sure that the on-reserve and on-settlement interaction is robust. So very glad to see that they're focusing on supporting a variety of membership, and the importance of this meeting was to talk about the budget upcoming. And so just to remind everybody that the levies that support the Northern Light Library systems, 35% of the money that they derive is from municipalities, 24% is from library boards proper. Provincial operating grants are 37%, and other revenue is 4%. So if you understand a little bit more, reading in between the line, basically that means that more than 50% of that money comes from municipalities like Vegreville. And the province, right before the election, interestingly enough, increased their funding for the first time in many years. And that was through an advocacy campaign that the Northern Lights library systems, as well as other library systems across the province, were successful. And that has made a difference. But I will say that since 1998, the average municipal increase to library funding has increased by 2.18%, whereas the average provincial increase has been 1.72. So you can see that the province has lagged quite drastically behind, and what it's meant is that it's been below Canadian inflation and it hasn't kept pace. And so they were successful collectively to increase library funding, which is helpful, but it still is not enough to be able to keep up with inflation. So what that means is that budget proposal will be a 1.5% increase for the next 3 years to ensure that we have a smooth transition for utilities, and also ensure that we've got some coverage for unforeseen costs. They've done some very deliberate increase in revenue, increasing the number of members, as I mentioned earlier, renting out office space, and ensuring that they're also being very judicious about renewing and replacing items such as their vans that they use for transporting collections throughout the region. All that to say, there will be a fairly large sum that will come from reserves to be able to cover expenses, so it won't be something that's sustainable, and it will continue to be increased costs, and so they will continue to have some conversations with the province. But we will be getting that presentation to us in time for budget consideration. But again, things are on track. They've been doing a very diligent job of making sure that they're updating what needs to be updated and protecting, because there have been a number of libraries actually that have been held ransom with ransomware recently. So they've invested in more up-to-date spyware and spamware as part of that protection. And the next meeting will be in November, but I would anticipate that we would get a projected budget submission in that time frame for us to consider at this table. Today I attended the 30th anniversary for Lakeland Respiratory, and also want to congratulate them on 30 years of providing service to the community, and on their intended expansion that will be happening October 1st, I think, is their expansion locally, which is great, and exactly what we like to see in terms of economic development, bringing more people to the community. And when we did an inventory of health professionals, Lakeland Respiratory has a number there, but we've got in excess of 350 individuals that work in health provision in a variety of different facilities, or in fact, a number of different facilities locally, from janitorial staff right up to physicians and everyone in between. So it's important that we acknowledge those businesses and individuals that provide health support to our community. And I will also make note that Thursday is the first day back to school for, some of us are excited. So I will just say thank you to all of those that have provided programming and support for families throughout the community, and look forward to a return to school on Thursday.
Thank you very much. So for me, on the 24th of July, we had our council workshop, and then again on the 3rd. I did do the fair shuttle, the 9th and 13th. It's my first time doing it. It was fun. It was really fun. I got to meet some people from out of town, some people in town. I always had kids wanting to ride on it, and I said, "Where do you want to go?" And they said, "Well, we don't know." I said, "Then I'm not taking you anywhere. You gotta have a destination. You can't get on." We had the ledge meeting on the 15th. On the 27th, we had our town golf day, which was really fun. Got to meet a lot of people around that I don't see all the time, and it was well done by the social committee. So it was a good Sunday. And then today we had the plaque presentation, and congrats again to Lakeland Respiratory, and tonight's council meeting. And that is what I have. We have no closed session items. Is there any other business of council? Going once? Alrighty, well, let's adjourn this meeting at 8:21.